Hello Stargazers and welcome to Devlog number 4 for the app Kosmos that I'm building as part of the Gemini AI developer competition. My name's Jimmy and this is Alphabet, and today we're going to give you a quick update. I meant to do this last week, so apologies that didn't come sooner. So the TLDR is that I'll be giving you a demo in about 20 seconds, which will show you all the new features of the app. I'll be giving you an update on the submission process, the new website, the apps, availability, and I'll be telling you a little bit about the future features that I've got planned. So without any further ado, let me get started with the demo. I'm going to put Elfie down. Yeah, 1 minute. Oh, 1 minute. Right, so let's have a look. So I thought I'd start by showing you the website quickly. So this is the new website. It's super simple. It just gives you a little bit of an overview of the app. I had some fun making some animated PNGs here, which basically demonstrates a few of the features and just gives you kind of the links to download the apps, etc. So on there is the trailer that I had to, when I submitted to the Gemini AI developer competition, you had to submit with a trailer. So this was the trailer I came up with.
Beneath Ancient Skies.
I won't go into any more of that, but basically I will try in the magic of YouTube Studio to add a card somewhere on the screen right now, so you can kind of click and watch the trailer if you haven't already. I'll also leave it in the description of the video. So we'll jump straight into the app. Okay. So basically, not sure. I think that was a caching thing. So basically, go straight into the app. This is the web version. You can access it on app.cosmos.space. And here it started basically giving you a tutorial. This is one of the new features that I added. This isn't the tutorial that I kind of had in my mind. I kind of felt like there was going to be something a little bit more interactive, but this was basically a bit of a stopgap solution. I was kind of aware that basically the app can feel a little bit overwhelming when you first open it if you're not adverse to, if you just don't know how to read astrological charts and you don't know what all the symbols are and things like that. So this is basically a way of just kind of introducing you to those topics. It will continue playing until it reaches the end, but at any time you want kind of like swipe to kind of like, manually, change the slide. You then get this little X, and if you don't actually click the X, it will keep showing you the tutorial every time you open the app. But when it reaches the end, it will show you the X, and if you kind of are manually doing it, and then once you do that, it's gone, and you'll never see it again. I think they'll probably, I'm going to rework the tutorial at some point in the future, but that's the tutorial on the cosmic clock, and when you go into an astrological chart, you'll get a different tutorial for that as well. So what else is new? Basically, the whole kind of chart creation process is new. This is kind of super cool. This is kind of exactly what I had in my mind when I kind of first decided that I wanted to build this app. And I'll kind of give you a quick demo of that now. So you basically hit here to kind of add a chart into your personal collection. Here it basically explains that this is an early access preview, and right now you don't have an account. So your charts aren't stored in the cloud just yet. They're basically just stored in your device. I will change that in the future. I just kind of, it's just a case of, priorities, and I felt like kind of getting this chart process working was more important than kind of, getting all the authentication stuff built, just with the limited time that I had. So when you click on this, it basically asks you for your location of birth. You can add anything, but let's go ahead and let's just do me now. I'm not sure why I'm getting these black and white emoji icons. I did enable the full color emoji support, and I have seen them on there, but for some reason they've just stopped again. So I will need to look into that at some point, but that's not a huge thing. It is on, if you're using the Android or macOS builds, then you get the correct emoji, but for some reason my web is giving me this kind of like, trimmed down version. So anyway, so I will select my place, and again I'm using that ortholinear projection that I talked about last devlog. I've kind of done a little bit more work on it, and it's kind of cool. You can just basically just kind of like jump around, and it's giving you the the coordinate system which astrologers will be used to kind of seeing. And I kind of doing, I'm using, for this, I'm using OpenStreetMap, just for the reason that it's free. And if I use Google Maps, then basically there is a cost associated with it. And I just need to be careful about that when I'm kind of embedding that into the client like I am here. So a general rule of thumb for me as a developer is that whenever there's a cost associated to kind of an external resource, I try and proxy it via myself or my servers, which potentially which allows me to do things like rate limiting and caching and things like that. But with this being kind of well, at the moment having zero server dependency, it just makes sense to just have it wired up to OpenStreetMaps. Maybe that will change in the future. Google Maps do kind of add some cool things like historic time zones and stuff, which actually we'll get to next. But anyway, so we'll continue on. So you put your location in, and then it takes you to your kind of birth date and time, and it kind of explains that it's knowing the exact time is important for an accurate chart. So this, we've seen this before. This is just the default kind of material design picker. So we find my date of birth on here. I've got to remember how to do this with a mouse. I usually just swipe away, and then okay, we go to here, and that says Sunday, and then my time of birth is 3:20 a.m. Okay, and then basically it's automatically selected the time zone that it found to be for me. Now this is using historic time zones. There's a database that's available. I can't remember the acronym. I want to say AMC or something. I can't remember. I'm sorry. I'll put the information in the notes below of where I've sourced the time zone data from. And what this does is basically it looks at your current time zone, which for me is Europe, London, and then it looks to the historic time zones and looks at the date that this has been created, the date that we're looking at, which is 1984, 5th of February. And then it looks at basically what time zones were available at this point and what were their transition dates. And from that, it can then calculate what the exact time zone and offset will have been at that time. So it's doing quite a lot there. And it kind of just it's not getting in the way. It's not kind of confusing the user with lots of questions. If I go on there and say, for instance, so these are all the time zones that are available at the time of my birth. So if I was just to go on there and basically choose something that's incorrect, and then I kind of set the date again, it will then tell me that basically it's found the recommended time zone for the selected date. And if I click yes, it will just automatically recalculate it on that. I don't know how. I mean, basically, this time zone stuff is kind of all accurate up until, well, is mostly accurate from 1970 onwards. Before that, I think it gets really kind of wild. I think all I can really do at that point, I think, is show perhaps a notification on here to say that the date you've selected is before 1970, and require you really to verify your time zone. Time zones are basically just very inaccurate in terms of astrology. So you can have certain parts of the world where you might have 100 meters difference between multiple hours time zone shift, which is crazy because then one person over here 100 meters away will have a very different astrological chart than somebody over there based on the same solar time, which is difficult. So we've just got to deal with that as well as we can. And maybe in the future, when I get further down the line, I can introduce that premium Google Maps time zone service, which I mentioned, which costs, it's not insignificant. It's about $5 for 1,000 lookups. So I would then proxy that through kind of a server endpoint, and I could then, maybe make that available to people who have actually kind of maybe paying something for the app. They could get like the premium time zone lookup service, which would kind of, be hopefully a lot more accurate and also, go earlier than 1970. Okay, anyway, let's move on. This is the bit that I was really kind of always had in my mind that I wanted this app to be basically. I'll just very quickly read you it, the introduction to this screen. This is called Schools of Astrology, or School of Astrology. And you choose your astrology system, and it says astrology has diverse traditions and systems, each with its own unique perspective on the cosmos. These different approaches, often referred to as schools of astrology, use different methods to calculate planetary positions and interpret their meanings. Swipe to explore the options and tap to select the system you would like to use for this chart. Whether you're drawn to the familiar Western tropical zodiac or the ancient wisdom of Vedic astrology, Cosmos empowers the explorer to explore the stars through the lens that feels most authentic to your journey. So basically, this is kind of gets to the crux of what I really wanted Cosmos to be, and that is kind of not just so many apps that I've tried on the app stores just give you kind of one perspective, one lens for the astrology. And what I really wanted this to be is basically a tool that allows you to explore, whatever school of astrology you want and really dial it into what feels authentic to you. So because I'm using the web version here, and it's not assumed that you have access to swiping, I've added these little arrows. Then they're not very pretty. I don't really like the UI or placement of these, but basically just to make sure that if somebody doesn't have a touchscreen, I could actually use my trackpad here to kind of swipe. But these are here anyway. So basically what we've got here is we start off with modern tropical. This is what most people will recognize. And it says, the most widely used system in Western astrology today, now aligned with the seasons rather than the constellations. And it gives you a quick overview. So my sun, according to this, is in Aquarius. This is what I brought up thinking my sun sign was, Aquarius, and my moon is in Pisces, and my ascendant is in Sagittarius. And it gives you a little map widget here that basically, chart widget that shows you this and kind of highlights some of the settings that are here. Okay, so you can see here that it says I. So this will be kind of built on later. This was just very quickly getting something in here. So it shows we're using the zodiac is tropical, the house system as Placidus, and the interpretations are Hellenistic. Now the interpretation shouldn't be Hellenistic, but it's just because this is an evolutionary preview period of my app, and I haven't got round to building a modern Western interpreter yet. But it's quite a simple process. It's a long process. There are, hundreds of thousands of interpretations built into my Hellenistic interpreter. So it would be just a case of building up that huge modern Western astrological principle context, and then letting the system loose on basically aspects and placements. And then I would be able to give you a modern interpretation of these placements. But right now it's Hellenistic with a modern slant, and I don't think that's an issue. You still get really good astrological interpretations, although it's kind of considering things, putting quite a lot of importance on things like sect and planetary rulers, etc., which maybe you wouldn't necessarily get traditionally in a modern Western interpretation. Okay, then we get the same equivalent, but the sidereal variant. So basically aligns with the actual stars, revealing your true sun sign, which may differ from what you're used to. I was kind of very keen to kind of get that in there, that basically because people would look at this and go, whoa, sun in Capricorn, I'm an Aquarius, what's this talking about? It's a bug. But it shows you here that this is kind of what the tropical zodiac would have you says is my sun sign, whereas the sidereal says that my sun is in Capricorn. And very quickly, sidereal is basically based on the actual stars. So my sun is actually in Capricorn on the night of my birth, whereas the tropical zodiac was based on the stars when it was conceived back by the Greeks, but has gradually shifted due to the equinox and the wobble of the earth. So is now kind of about a sign out of sync. And you can see there that the sun is basically here on the chart, if you can see where my mouse is. And you can see it's sat in Aquarius. And if we move on to the sidereal one, you can then see here the sun, and it's sat in Capricorn. And you can see now, because it's sidereal, we also have basically Fagan Bradley. This is I forget the word. I'm gonna embarrass myself if I try to say it. So this is basically the tropical to sidereal calculation, which I think is about 20, 24, 27 degrees. Anyway, we'll move on from that. We've then got Hellenistic tropical, rooted in ancient Greek wisdom, using tropical zodiac, now aligned with the seasons rather than the constellations. And again, this basically, the main difference here is it's using the whole sign house system. Oh, interesting that it's got Fagan Bradley there. That shouldn't be there, so that's a slight bug. It doesn't matter though. It will be a tropical zodiac. It does say my sun is in Aquarius. And then we've got Hellenistic sidereal, and then that's as we expect. So Sun in Capricorn, we've got Fagan Bradley, and we've got the whole sign house system. And then it shows you here the Vedic sidereal. So basically, Vedic is like kind of Indian astrology. That's kind of the most popular kind of form of astrology in the East. The reason I've said coming soon is that, having this Hellenistic interpreter for sidereal astrology just makes no sense, because it's very kind of centered around, the moon, and basically your lunar position, and there's more houses to consider. And Hellenistic Western interpretations on a Vedic sidereal chart just wouldn't be Vedic, would not be genuine, would not be. So that's, when I said it was like trivial to just create a Western modern interpreter, like doing the Vedic one is going to be more involved because there's way more principles to consider. There's way more houses now that I need to kind of like add into the app, and yeah, it's just, I mean, it's not a huge amount of work. It's probably a few days, but before I can get to the point of doing that few days work, I would need to kind of read a couple of books on the subject of Vedic astrology to make sure that I am, fully grasping all of the principles. So this is coming soon, and also the kind of the circular chart here is traditionally kind of a Western and Hellenistic kind of chart, and a Vedic chart is usually on a piece of square paper because a square on the shape of a square. No, it doesn't necessarily need to be on a piece of paper, but basically this is traditionally because actually drawing your chart on a piece of paper on a napkin is easier with straight lines. So they would basically use straight lines to break it into break up the square into areas of your chart, and then you would place the planets in there. So again, there'll be a different visualization for Vedic. And in the future, I also intend to have Bazi on there as well, which is Chinese astrology, which again has a different chart. And this would all be very different, the information that it's giving you. You then, you've got your animal signs and things like that, and lots of elemental stuff. So that's kind of, again, that's, if Vedic is kind of phase 2, Bazi is phase 3. So, right, sorry, I spent way too long on here. So let's basically choose Hellenistic sidereal, which is kind of my kind of personal preference at the moment. So when you select it, you get this nice little kind of animation. It shows you nice and clear you're selected, and now you can continue. And then basically we can now save the chart. So you can give the person a name. So let's add Jimmy. It gives you a little overview here. I think in the future, there'll probably be little edit buttons here, and maybe like ways of customizing this, but this is, just bare minimum right now to kind of get the feature in. And then we'll basically save that. And it now says chart saved, and we can see here that we have the live Cosmos and we have me. So you can just basically instantly click on this, and it loads up the chart. You can see that the animations are now, way less pronounced than they previously were. I just felt like it was giving almost like motion sickness, how all the charts spin around, like it was basically doing like a sidereal day for a moon like on the animation when you kind of first open it. And now I just figured, actually, let's just show 3 hours. It kind of gradually kind of cut, and it happens over kind of the space of a second or two. Anyway, we can see down at the bottom the tutorial mode is now activated for the chart because it's the first time we've done it. And when you click on it, it basically tells you can swipe through to move through the tutorial, which I can kind of like do like so. Whoops. But we'll just get rid. But it just, the inner lines are called your aspects, the relationship of the planets. And so it kind of gives you this little kind of tutorial, drag to rotate the chart and manipulate time. So we can basically see that. Of course, now, because we're using that whole sign house system, it kind of looks quite different when we animate it. You can see basically it kind of the houses are perfectly divided into 30 degrees, and as you kind of reach the end of one, the AC basically snaps to the previous one. Of course, now we're no longer on my birthday, but we can kind of go back here, and we can just go straight back to there. And just for kind of purpose of demonstrating the difference, if we go to the live Cosmos here, you can see how different that actually looks. And when I animate that, like, you can see that kind of looks very different from how it looked when I was using basically the whole sign houses like this. What else changed here? I don't think a great deal. Lots of stuff tidied up. Yeah, lots of stuff tidied up. Everything put into kind of made sure everything's fully working. This here is the old projection, so this isn't using the new projection controller and system that I developed, which I do plan to change it for that, because the new one's a lot more optimized than this old one. This information's kind of been refactored a little bit. Annoyingly, at the moment, you can't kind of change your time zone. It's kind of fixed as to when you created the chart. But yeah, all this data is kind of like slightly, everything's just been kind of tweaked and refined basically before the submission. And I think that's pretty much all of the new features. The cosmic clock didn't really change. Lots of stuff went on to make sure that the layout was correct, no matter what device type you were using. So yeah, I got the app. You know, this now is what I imagined the app, what I wanted the app to be when I kind of like first kind of set out to create it. So although the version of this app, it's 0.14.4, and you can see the changelog there, all of the stuff that I added in this latest version. This is kind of now what I envisaged the first version of my app would be, where you can go on there, you can create a chart, you can, you know, enjoy the cosmic clock, you get all of these nice, you know, haikus and affirmations and things, and you can basically dive into basically the live Cosmos, and you can play around with it and interact with it, and you can also create your own charts, your historic charts, and really delve into your, you know, the aspects. You know, like, I think this is kind of quite a challenging one for me. Like, this is kind of in, you know, this says intent square here. So it's kind of rank in terms of intensity, but that's kind of really considering the aspect here. So you can see that so this is kind of a 3-degree applying conjunction between Mars and Saturn. And you can see there where they are on the chart. You can see how close they are. They're 3 degrees apart. So the reason that's not any higher on the list is because basically the sun is applying on Saturn with 0.33 degrees square. So that's a very intense square. And basically squares are considered intense, although conjunctions can also be intense. But what it's not really considering is the intensity of the individual cosmic bodies, which in this case is Mars applying. So Mars basically is dominating Saturn, and Mars is one of the most possibly the most intense planet. It's a malefic planet. Although I have a nocturnal sect on my chart, so basically, which it gives you all this information. This is probably the kind of the aspect that I'm most interested in for myself. But what's kind of interesting is the interpretations. They consider all, you know, everything that I've just explained there. These interpretations basically consider it. You know, they're really very, very nuanced, and I love that. So yeah, I think like this feels like a complete package to me. Although it's 0.14. This is kind of what I wanted version 1 to be, but I've realized now that actually like version 1 requires, you know, account registration, which is just, it's a few days work. I just need to do it. Account registration, you know, manage your account, delete your account, you know, and then save your charts into your account. So that's not a big deal. I can do that, and I do need to do that. So I've kind of, that is going to be one of the apps, one of the requirements for version 1. And I think also probably once I've done that, when you actually create a chart here, it's not just going to throw you into the Cosmos Explorer here, or the Cosmic Explorer as I kind of refer to it internally. It will probably take you to somewhere where you'll have a bit more of an overview of your chart. And this will just be one option from that, where it can be like, you know, explore the Cosmos at the time of this birth, and that will jump you to this page here where you can kind of like, you know, explore all this. But I think it will kind of hold your hand a little bit more and give you a bit more of a report. And also I'll use Gemini to basically create you a bit of a bespoke overview of your natal chart. And I think this is one area where I'll have kind of a premium upgrade where you can use Gemini to give you a really thorough personal interpretation based on your natal chart. But that's going to actually require quite a lot of cloud resources for each one. You know, I envisage this will kind of use a lot of tokens for me to kind of generate one of these reports. So they will have a real world cost associated with it for me. So I will have to kind of, you know, put that behind some sort of a premium wall. But yeah, so basically this is where we're up to. You can very quickly kind of create new charts. Once you're kind of done with a chart, you can, you know, delete it there. And yeah, so that's that's the update basically. I'll very quickly tell you where I'm up to with the apps. So the web app obviously is available now. You can access it from cosmos.space and hit the web button, or you can go straight there with app.cosmos.space. You can install this on your phone's home screen or your iPad's home screen or your Chromebook, etc., as a progressive web app. The Android version is available in the App Store. You can go on there. Look, 50 downloads. That's quite cool. It's going up quite like, well, not quickly. I mean, some of my other apps have got like, over 1 million installs, whereas, so 50 is very small, but it's kind of accelerating. I'm getting like 10 a day now, which is quite cool. So yeah, you can download it from the Android App Store. The macOS version, okay, so I've got a situation with the iOS and the macOS version. So I submitted it to iOS and macOS, Apple at the same time. And basically the iOS version was rejected for the reason of basically design. So it's category design. I think it's 4.3, category design, and then subheading spam. And basically they say that there are too many. They said, so it's kind of a templated response. Regardless of if your app has unique or innovative features, the category of astrology, horoscopes, zodiac is overcrowded, and we're not accepting any new submissions to this category. So that was kind of crazy. But on the same note, they also accepted the macOS version, which kind of had me confused. So there's no iOS version right now. There is a macOS version. However, I tried to update the macOS version to 14.4, and it has now been rejected and categorized as 4.3 design spam. So that's no longer getting updated, and it's frustrating because there's some fundamental kind of this version the version that's available as macOS, has a couple of bugs that have been fixed in 14.4, and doesn't allow you to kind of create the accounts, which is frustrating. So I'm thinking so what I've done is I've scheduled a call with a App Store expert from Apple. It's scheduled for the 10th of September, and that's a 30-minute consultation. I don't think this is an opportunity for me to appeal the process. That's happened and it's remained rejected. I think this is, I don't know. I've put down that I'd like to discuss options. I don't think there are any options. I think maybe the only option is for them to go away and say, you need to basically build this app out so much so that the astrology section is secondary to something else, and then we'll get it through. Perhaps, but that's not really what I really want to do. I don't know. We'll see what happens on the 10th of September. But if so I went back to the App Store review team and said, look, the macOS version that you have has had some bugs fixed, which includes a runtime crash. And in the interest of providing a stable experience to the people that do have this, because you have already accepted this app, I feel like this update should be accepted, and then I will not try any more updates until I've had the session with your App Store review team. So we'll see what will happen with that. I'm hoping I can get 14.4 into macOS, but if not, I think I'm just going to pull it from the App Store entirely, and yeah, we'll have to just see what happens on September. There is the option to kind of go down the alt store route. Apple has been forced to allow alternative stores, at least in the EU. So that is an option. I don't really want to go down that route, but it would mean the app could be available to those on iOS, other than the web version. I think for now, I'm just going to have to say, if you're on iOS, I'm very sorry, but you'll just have to use the iOS version, which isn't quite as nice as the native version, just in terms of things like haptic feedback and basically performance. But it's, it is still very good, like in terms of performance and haptic. The haptic feedback is just a little bit touch and go, which is kind of a little bit frustrating. Yeah, so I think I've waffled on for long enough. I've touched on what I'm kind of going to do in the future already. So yeah, like transits are coming, more interpreters and custom accounts and cloud charts. They're kind of next on the hit list. I do have some other stuff that I kind of need to crack on with for the next kind of week or so, but I do hope to kind of get back to Cosmos very soon. And I'm kind of enjoying kind of seeing people start using it and stuff. So that's great. I think that the Gemini AI judging will happen by the end of the month. I think. I don't know. I know that the People's Choice vote opens at the end of the month. So yeah, it would be really great if you do like my app, if you could help vote for it when the time comes. And for now, it would be great if you could give the video a thumbs up, because that would really help more people discover it. Yeah, cool, awesome. Well, I'll give you an update in the future when I've added some more features. But for now, I'll say bye.